18%. That is how much Duke Energy Carolinas wanted to raise electricity rates on more than 2 million North Carolina customers when it filed its case in November 2025, an increase reported at roughly $34 a month for a typical household. On July 18, 2026, that request collapsed to less than half. Under a settlement with the state's official customer advocate, typical residential bills will instead rise 5.9% next January, about $6.53 a month, with a second, smaller step in 2028. This episode is about how an 18% ask became a 9.5% reality, and what that tells you about every rate case in America. First, the basics. Duke Energy Carolinas serves more than 2 million customers across central and western North Carolina, including the Charlotte area, the Triad, and counties like Forsyth, Guilford, and Alamance. In November 2025, the company filed a rate case with the North Carolina Utilities Commission asking for an increase of about 18% phased over 2 years. The stated reasons: population growth and the infrastructure that comes with it, new substations, new transmission lines, upgrades across the grid. It wasn't alone. This spring, utilities across the country pushed a record wave of rate increase requests, and North Carolina had several pending at once. The state has been one of the fastest growing in the country, and the wires have to keep up. Then came the pushback. In North Carolina, a state agency called the Public Staff exists to represent customers in utility cases. It went through Duke's numbers line by line. So did a coalition of others: the Carolina Industrial Group for Fair Utility Rates, the Carolina Utility Customers Association, the North Carolina Sustainable Energy Association, and Walmart, one of the state's biggest electricity users. On July 18, 2026, Duke and those parties announced a settlement that cuts the proposed increase by more than half. Now the numbers that matter for your bill. Under the settlement, residential rates rise 5.9% on January 1, 2027. For a typical household, that's about $6.53 a month. A year later, rates rise another 3.6%, roughly $4.66 more. Added up, and a typical residential bill lands around $157.15 a month, an increase of about 9.5% over 2 years. Across all customer classes, homes and businesses together, the overall increase averages out to about 3.7% per year. Compare that to the original request of 18%, reported at around $34 a month, and the difference is real money, hundreds of dollars a year for an average household. So why did Duke give up so much? Because a rate case is not a bill that gets passed or rejected. It's a negotiation. Think of the initial filing like an opening bid at a negotiating table. The utility asks for everything it thinks it can justify. The customer advocates counter. Both sides know a fight in front of the commission is expensive and risky, so most cases end in settlements like this one. And this settlement has some unusual teeth. Duke agreed to a return on equity of 9.8%, with equity making up 53% of its capital structure. And those two numbers set how much profit is baked into your rates. Shareholders, not customers, will fund a $10 million program for low-income bill assistance and weatherization. And there's a new refund rider. If Duke's infrastructure projects miss their completion timelines, money flows back to customers with interest. That last piece matters, because multi-year rate plans lock in spending commitments years ahead. The rider is the customer's insurance policy. What happens next? The settlement is not final until the North Carolina Utilities Commission approves it. Expert witness hearings were held in Salisbury in late July, and a decision is expected this fall. If approved, the new rates start January 1, 2027. And keep an eye on two related fights. Duke Energy Progress, the company's other North Carolina utility, has its own 18% request pending, and in July the state attorney general formally challenged it. Meanwhile, regulators and Duke are discussing a special large load tariff for data centers, designed to make the biggest new power users pay their own way. How that rule gets written will shape Carolina bills for a decade. Here's the most useful takeaway. The first number you see in a rate hike headline is almost never the number you end up paying. Utilities open high. Regulators, customer advocates, and big industrial users push back, and the gap can be enormous. In this case, more than half. So when your utility announces a big request, look up who intervenes, when public comment periods open, and what the settlement talks produce. And check which utility actually serves you. In North Carolina, Duke Energy Carolinas and Duke Energy Progress are separate companies with separate rate cases, and right now they are on very different tracks. So here's the summary. Duke Energy Carolinas asked for 18% in November 2025. After the public staff and a coalition of customers pushed back, the July 18 settlement cut that to 5.9% in 2027 and 3.6% in 2028, about $11 a month combined, pending a commission vote this fall. Population growth and grid spending are still pushing bills up, just less steeply than the utility wanted. That's the pattern to remember from this whole series. Demand is surging, wires cost money, and the only real break is the process. Next time on Kilowatt Report, we dig into who should pay for the data center boom and the new tariffs designed to make sure it isn't you. See you then. If your electric bill keeps rising, this channel breaks down a different utility every week. Subscribe and watch the next one right here.